Welcome to the Book Dormer. Today is the May wrap-up video, so everything that was read in May of 2024. I've got 4 books, 2 of them absolutely fantastic. Another was quite an enjoyable read, and one I did to get a bingo square completed. I Yeah, we'll talk about that. I also have 3 audiobooks I completed, which if you've watched since I started this channel, I'm not sure I've gotten into a second audiobook done yet in a month. I'd have to go back and double check. But this time, instead of doing like my giant Malazans, which I'm back on for June, instead I went ahead and did some other works. Right, try to spread it out a little bit, a couple sci-fi's, and whatever constant severity counts as, just other than madness. All right, first book up on the list, Jay Kristoff's Empire of the Vampire. First off, really nice books. If you haven't seen these, this is just the hardback edition in the States, and there's all sorts of drawings. It's thick. There's drawings inside it. There's maps. This is a story about Gabriel de Leon, and he is a silver saint, which means he is the product of a male vampire and a human lady, which becomes kind of a monster, and if they don't get it under control, they're going to turn monster mode at some point. Well, he is brought in by the Order of the Silver Saints, which are a very religious, militant knight order of people who cover themselves in these religious tattoos, which they can then use to hurt the vampires because the vampires are out. It's a really interesting world. The world, they're, oh gosh, 30 years into the fall of the sun, where the sun just kind of went away and all of a sudden the vampires are roaming. So you have a society that's collapsing. They're eating lichen, they're eating mushrooms, kind of things that can grow in low light. So the whole and they're losing. And so this tale follows through basically as they get pushed back. Gabriel has been captured. He was like the greatest of the Silver Saints, the last of the super Silver Saints, maybe the last of the Silver Saints. It's been a month since I read it, so apologies if I got that part a little off. But he has been captured by the vampires, and the vampires want him, or the queen of the vampires wants him to tell his tale. So they bring in a vampire who's going to record it all, and they negotiate. Gabriel is definitely a grumpy drunk by this point in his life, almost a drug addict. Well, certainly a drug addict drunk who's mad at how life has treated him. He's mad at his religious order. He's mad at God. He's mad at himself. He's mad at everybody. Reddit the other day called him an edgelord. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know. I think he might be more like a burned out warrior than an edgelord, but it's pretty funny stuff. So he goes through and relays his tale in his own order, the order he feels like telling it, which is a great, great storytelling narrative. Because instead of just starting at the front and going like the interviewer wanted him to, he was moving about through the interesting parts, which definitely kept it a little bit from being pure info dumpy. There is definitely a lot of info, but his stories are great, and they're like this collection of, and this is what I did at this point, but it was done well. I don't necessarily like it in some books that other people like. There's a few of them that people really enjoy that, I'm reflecting back. But I think what happens on the reflecting back ones is they're too often too braggy. And I know people think Gabriel sounds braggy in this, but yet he's self-deprecating the whole time. He's always talking about when he's scared, when he's failing, when it's not going well. So I disagree. I think he actually explains things very well, and it's kind of funny just watching. I mean, I kind of wish he had a little bit more try to take initiative in by at the time he's talking in the book, but I don't know. I guess he's gonna sit there and get drunk and smoke the blood, the essence of blood of vampires, because this is what the Silver Saints all get high off of, and it gives them power and helps them heal, and it makes them super strong, and yeah, all sorts of things. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. I don't know what would have got it to 5. I actually truly enjoyed the book, and I don't think if somebody rated it 5, I would have been against. Maybe it's just because it seemed to have ended. It seems like this is just part one. So there's a little bit of that. The second is out now, so I would have been probably a little more miffed 3 years ago if I had to wait a long time. I was Empire of the Vampire. All right, second book of the month. I flew out to Silicon Valley. I live in the Midwest. It's a long flight, so I got 200 pages done on the way there. I think I got like 150 pages done on the way back. Read some while I was there, although the hotel room, really beautiful looking hotel, but sometimes hotel rooms just aren't made to sit in. Sometimes you're like, you sit around going, nope. I end up going out to like a Mexican cantina and doing reading there instead. Will of the Many. James is from James Islington, 2023. This is the big super darling that you saw. A lot of people saying this is their favorite book of the year. A lot of people saying it's their favorite fantasy book of the year, and rating it very high on lists. Maybe the saddest thing is that we have to wait quite a while to be able to get a sequel because he's not done with it yet. So you wrote that in 2023. Here we are in May of 2024. It's not turned in anybody yet, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit. Amazing world building. I love this concept. So you have the Roman Empire, hence you get a lot of you'll get a lot of that Romany looking stuff in here, and they have a technology that's almost like a lost tech. So picture basically a magic that's a lost tech, where you join and you go down to the pillar and you join the system, and everyone's trying to work their way up the ranks. There's 8 ranks. If you are at the bottom rank, you give half of your will, which is essentially your essence, your energy, your drive, your motivation. You're giving half of it to the rank above you. And so the person in 7th has like 8 people under them. They in turn have to give half of their own energy and half of the energy that, or half of the will that they collect to the next level up. And that keeps working their way up until you get to the top of a chain. So there's sometimes like a 6 or a 5 is at the top of a chain. Fascinating concept. So if you were to try to like get into a fist fight with a 6 can throw a punch like they've got 20 some people's worth of power coming at you. So it would be, very dangerous to mess with somebody too high. And the whole society is based around this concept of levels, where you would always adhere to the level above you and do what you're told. We've got Viz, who, let's go through the list of things that we could check off on the giant trope set. He is a hidden prince. So he is the prince of a country or an island that was taken over by the Romanish Empire. Family was killed. And she hung all the family. His baby sister died. He was trying to get her away. She's got a lot of guilt, a lot of anger. And somehow he gets wrapped up to where he is going to take part in the system. So he's got a sponsor. So it's like a early 30s man has adopted him, very much like the Romans did in the nearer towards the end of the Roman era, where they would look and go, well, I don't have a son to do this. I'm going to get somebody to be my legacy. So I'm going to adopt somebody, and they're going to go do this thing for me and be great. Well, Viz is being sent to the academy to figure out what happened to his sponsor's brother who died there. The sponsor thinks something's up, and he does not believe that this wasn't murder. He really thinks something bad happened, so he wants his Viz to go there and figure it out for him. And to do so, he has to learn how to use the will. He has to show up, and the school is set up in ranks too. So you're down at the bottom, you got to work your way up. Now they offered to let him start a little higher, but he didn't want to. He started down he started at the bottom and wanted to work his way up, and then like a day he's in the next one, and the next guy hates him. The next professor just doesn't like him and isn't going to let him out. Is not going to move him up, even though he's very obviously the best person there and is almost annoyingly the best person there. Viz is definitely a can do everything type thing. Oh, there's going to be a sword fight? Baby, I was a prince. I was taught by the best in the world. Oh, we're going to have to memorize a new thing? Yep. Language? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that language. You've got a lot of that going on. And yet, even with that, it's still super, super interesting. To that end, I didn't realize this was a dark academia. This I did. I'd heard the Roman Empire part. I didn't know he was going to go to school, and so a lot of people compare this to Red Rising. Which, apologies, I have not actually read. I do have it over there now, so it'll make an appearance at some point, but I haven't read it yet. But I teach online classes for high tech stuff, and I oftentimes ask my students for recommendations on books, and a lot of them have said Red Rising. I wonder how many have read this and where they would come into play. Because I've seen some people saying, hey, they think this is just Red Rising, and other people say they think this is a better version. I don't know. I liked it enough that I'm going to go read Red Rising, and whenever Will the Many Part 2 or whatever they're calling it shows up, I'm going to read that too. I gave it 4.5 stars. I did a whole video on it, too. Well, a non-spoiler video on it. So if you want to hear more of my just the things that caught my attention, you can do that, or otherwise, go read it. Or if you have, let me know what you thought of it. Let's change it up from books that were just fantastic. That was two 4.5 out of fives. Over to, well, a book that was slower. I gave it a 3, and I think I'm being generous. I, I give it a 3 because I giggled at parts. There's some very clever writing in this, otherwise kind of boring story. So every so often you get one where you go, all right, that was really good. But now I have to trudge through another 30 pages of a small book that took forever. I actually ended up starting another book during this book because I wanted to be more entertained. Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Weiswell. Yeah, Weiswell. American author, 2024. All right, here's your premise. Shishi Shen is a slime monster. It's a piece of slime. And very interesting world in this that, or the monster side of this is interesting. The slime monster can absorb things like bones of creatures and pieces of metal and things like that to build a structure out of, and can actually even infiltrate the local area. Shishi Shen meets or kills a monster hunter who's woke her up because she hibernated, so she was weak, but managed to kill him. This monster hunter, well, the monster hunter's mom's coming around to come kill, and they're going to kill the monster. They're coming to take her out. Definitely a different take on this because she falls in love with the daughter of the of the ruler, and the ruler she's definitely evil as can be to her daughter. Like the daughter does nothing wrong, but just is always ignored, always picked on. Everyone just rips on her. So somehow Shishi Shan decides, hey, I really like her. And then we have my 100 superfluous pages of her loving on this girl and really wishing they could be a couple. Does turn out decent. So I gave it a 3. It's not a complete ripping. I don't read a lot of books where oh, I think she's great, I should try to help you, for the next 4 chapters in a row happen. And now we go to a much different style of book, but yet also labeled a romance. By the way, this Someone You Can Build a Nest In, which certainly would count for if you're doing the bingo, it certainly would count for the eldritch creatures. But I'm actually using it at this point to take out the romantasy, because it was definitely a romantasy, and yeah, I'm going to get that one off the board, just so it stops the daughter from trying to throw on Fourth Wing again on me. This is like she is chasing me with Fourth Wing. Next up, Ministry of Time. What? Neat font. By Kalani Bradley. Or I'm pretty sure I mispronounced her name. Sorry, I looked up. It's something. It's a Vietnamese name, so I'll let you pronounce it. And she, from 2024, she is a Cambodian British lady, so half Cambodian, half British. And a lot of times when you see somebody who's like a first generation or second generation, with the hyphen, they'll try to they'll focus on the culture, right? Because that's what they can bring to us, is that's something extra they have that we don't have. I actually wish we had more of that. I didn't get a lot of Cambodianism out of this. And I really like when there's like kind of a gentle introduction to a culture. So instead, we just have somebody who kind of feels like an outsider. Guess who what the main character is? Oh, did you say Cambodian British combination? Oh, how do you guess that? Yeah. So we have a lady who is the bridge. Her job in the Ministry of Time, which is paying her good bucks, a lot, apparently a lot of money, to become this bridge. They're going to have her interpret the world for somebody from the past. So the real star of the book is probably this Commander Graham Gore. He is an 1845 explorer. He is actually a real person. But he was even on the Beagle, Charles Darwin's boat down in the Galapagos. Well, he was lost during a polar expedition. There was a horrific, everybody freezes to death, no one makes it out type thing, and they found it a couple years later. Just if you're going up with the through the polar regions and the ice kind of freezes over. So they brought him out. They like kidnapped him from the past. And I'm saying kidnapping because if you didn't ask permission, that's kidnapping. They opened a time portal, snagged them, brought them in for some reason, and they're being very coy about what on earth you did this for. And so they have Commander Gore or Graham and our bridge live together for a year, and she's going to interpret. And I kept seeing these reviews, people talking about it being a romance. I'm like, what are you talking about? They have barely. There was one chase kiss, and then I got to the chapters. It's well past the halfway point, and all of a sudden, it turned into a Mary Sue of a Cambodian British woman having a massive super sex affair with this Victorian dude. It it went from like zero to like nothing to him going, take your clothes off, and her going, oh, okay. Like, whoa, dang, that works. It's been a while since I dated, so yeah, just the boom. But I don't want to give anything away past that. Does I mean it's a fun read. I like the read. It was very interesting with these different characters they were bringing back. They brought back like five different character or people from the past, and they would just call them by the year. Like Commander Gore was 1845 because that's when he came from, and so you had like a soldier from the Napoleonic era. You had different people brought back, and they were definitely acting differently. Some of them adopted really well, some of them didn't adopt well. Some of the parts were just like looking at this 1845 British gentleman who is now got just a random random gal as a as his bridge. Hello, fur monster. The fur monster has made his appearance. So we're probably going to get smashed here soon. Let me move the books to the other side in case he's coming up. Come on. You coming up to say hi? Come on. You coming up? Yeah, you do. Come on. You can do it. They want to see you. Oh, he's not doing it. I don't have the stool today. We got the chair. There he goes. He's sniffing around. That's bread. Let's talk about the audiobooks. I got three of them. First was Peter Watts' Blind Sight from 2006. This is actually, I got the recommendation off Benjamin's Book Club, and he's definitely read more sci-fi than I have. So he had it on his top 10 list, and I thought, that looks weird. Let's go for it. And it's kind of a follow-on to First Contact. Like there was a First Contact, and so then we're gonna go out and see what they're. And they found that they're building something. We're gonna go find out what's going on. By the way, we have a ancient vampire that we've resurrected. That is there. Who's apparently in this era, vampires and humans had fought in the early days of humanity, and humans had won because of the power of the cross. Yeah, man, it's a bummer when geometry kills you. That's which is what happened. It was actually about the geometry and not the religious aspect of it, which is hilarious. That's a really good merge in, right? We take the logic and merge it on in. There is lots of discussion about what makes somebody a person. the main character is creepy and is really just like a memory bank. He records everything, so nobody wants him around. Like whatever you say, they're going to record it and put it down for posterity, and maybe even does leading questions. Like no one trusts this person because of that. I give it 3.5 out of 5. There was a lot of good ideas. It wasn't my well. I mean, it's a different type. It's a cerebral sci-fi, and I did it on audio. Perhaps doing it on audio affected that. All right, next up is just kind of some murder fun. Yes, it's Murderbot's back. Network Effect, 2020. This is the big Martha Wells book. Martha Wells being American. Oh, by the way, Peter Watts was Canadian, so yeah, we'll get Australia, U.S., and Canada this month. And Canadian, British, but yeah, it's definitely UK. So Network Effect, Murderbot, book 5. I really don't want to give any spoilers on a fifth part of a series, right? Because I don't want to make it. We don't want to let you know who lived previously. Definitely fun. I give it 4.5 out of 5. It's back. My favorite characters featured quite a bit in this, and yeah, just it's a fun ride. Murderbot's. It seems kind of funny, but Murderbot's a very fun ride. He's a very lovable murder machine. Speaking of lovable murder machines, Constant Verity Saves the World. Second in the Constant Verity series from Lee A. Martinez. This came out in 2018. Picture like a 90s picture like a 90s girl show, kind of like, Buffy and any of those type of just crazy action stories. And now mix it with Dungeon Crawler Carl. This thing, like she'll be like walking down and all of a sudden like a medieval knight will attack somewhere, maybe not in this one but in the series, like she just get random attacked by this craziness. There's cursed items, there's aliens, there's evil masterminds. There are 30 somethings who are worried about the future and whether or not what their place in it is. It's like it's such an interesting juxtaposition. Like she's got a boyfriend, she's worried about messing that up. She's worried the boyfriend might think it's weird. The boyfriend might think it's all messed up. I mean, it's these very human concepts. And oh, by the way, there was that time she went and saved the planet from this or saved the world from that. If you follow through the first Constant Verity, it really makes sense where it comes from. Right? She's got these big superpowers they explain, and yeah, she's dare to keep the world safe and maybe get a boyfriend or maybe buy a house. That's funny. I give it 4.5 out of 5. So that's really, I mean, if you do the wrap up, Empire of the Vampire, Will of the Many, both fantastic, both close to 5s. Network Effect, Constance Verity, both quite good for what they are. Like, don't think Constance Verity. It's not going to make your world a better place. You're not going to like suddenly become, oh, now I'm a much more interesting person. It's just fun. Murderbot. Murderbot's fun, but actually will have some interesting concepts and play. But once you've done one Murderbot, then they kind of do start feel a little bit like the same thing. But it's good. It's just you're listening to an episode of some fun. All right, before you take off, let's go look at the bingo. Let's move up. Hey, everybody. Well, all right, bingo board time. If you're not doing fantasy bingo from Reddit, oh, all right, you get to hear it. But if you are, more ideas for you. And again, it started in April, so I got 3 on the board in April. I've got 3 on the board here in May. So give me to 6, which if you average 3, I mean, it's only 25 squares. So yeah, you'll finish fairly decently. First up, Will the Many makes an appearance. It had multiple reference materials. It actually meets the hard mode, because the hard mode is it contains at least 2 additional types. There's actually bunches of additional types in there. And so that's where I'm putting it for now. If you haven't seen this, I'm doing it on a magnet so I can move these if I change my mind. For instance, someone you can build a nest in actually hits multiple hard modes for me. It would hit Eldritch Creatures, because that the puddle creature thing is not actually Cthulhu related. It also hits Romantasy hard mode, where the Romantasy character is LGBTQIA plus. So I wasn't sure which version of the acronym they did. There we go. And one more to go. Ministry of Time. I'm gonna pop it in the author of color. Now it's funny. Before this, April, right? They don't announce it until April, so you didn't know what was there. I had like 6 or 7 people of color or authors of color to read on. I get here and I was like, oh man. And I've got a couple. I mean, obviously, Ocean's Gadori, that would have counted too. But I've got over there in the space opera category. I've got several more coming. Ken Liu's books are going to be making it in, and I've got, um, oh gosh, Gustav's book. I'm trying to see where it's at. I probably turned it around because I had a neat background. Just yeah, Sons of Darkness, which I'm actually counting. That's my going to be popped for. Oh gosh, what is it? Epilogues and prologues because he's got both in there. It's kind of neat to just peek through and see about which books you've got, which ones are going to work for what. And again, I can move these. If I want to pop it over, we can pop it over. And so what I'm trying to do most months, do like 3 of them. Do 3, some months make it a 4th, and try to get it just done in 2024 because it actually goes the first 3 months also of 2025. We'll see. I mean, if a series pulls me in, series is gonna pull me in. I know Malazan is supposed to be shipping by the fall from Broken Binding, so I expect. I know I'm bad, but I'm sure reading the books after so many hours in the audio is gonna be different. So thanks for coming and playing. Are gonna have another. Hopefully, I get the daughters. Her last month, she did recorded one with both months, both April and May together. So I'll try to get that edited and out too. And otherwise, she'll be back when we talk Babel. Good seeing you.